All right, and we're recording. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. It's just three guys sitting around a table talking about all things nerd culture. I'm one of your hosts, Luc Tran. I've got Harrison Ngo right here.
What's up?
And I've got Ian Eatwell across from me.
What's good?
And it is the second day of February, and one of our previous episodes was talking about our gamer resolutions. So I'm wondering what you guys are playing and if you've ever touched on your gamer resolution since then. Because right now, I'm not. Monster Hunter Iceborne is still pretty new, so that's mainly what I've been playing. I haven't touched any of the Destiny 2 raids. So, no, I'm not. Okay, so I did start playing very briefly Slay the Spire again because I was playing the Ascendant, which is the fourth character, and it's really fun. She's really cool, like design-wise, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
When did that drop? Actually,
she dropped
that recently?
maybe January.
Oh, okay,
like,
so it was recent.
It's relatively recent.
Okay.
It wasn't like a beta.
Yeah, she was in beta for a bit.
Well, because the game's now officially released, right?
Yeah,
it's like a legit thing.
We're out of open access, but within the past like 3 months, I'm pretty sure is when the Ascendant dropped.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause I know there were some streamers last year who were playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know if that was like a
beta
closed thing.
Yeah,
Like a closed thing. Like they're like, oh, you guys play this a lot. You get access to her.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
But I guess that's the newest thing I've been playing, and it's really fun. And like I love Slay the Spire, so I have nothing but good things to say. And the Ascendant is like they've done like one of the best jobs of making each of the four characters super unique. And the Ascendant is just another addition of like this is a super unique character. So good luck trying to learn her. Like this is really fun.
It's just a free drop, right?
Yeah,
like
everything's free.
Oh, that's so cool. That's actually really dope.
Which the developer for that guy is like A+, A+ developer, and he was really cool and really open about like I want to see mods for this game.
Yeah.
Which like so much like when you hit play in Steam, it's like, do you want to play the game or do you want to play the game with mods? And it's
That's so cool.
It's super user friendly. So I suggest everybody gets Slay the Spire, even if you don't really like a deck building game. It's a really good game.
Like you guys introduced that to me.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
You really liked it,
dude. It's so good. There are times where I'm like, I would stay up super late. I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember one time I was like, it's 2:00. What am I doing?
Like, oh no, I need to go to bed.
Luckily, it's like Friday night or something.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I came home after hanging out with you guys. And I'm like, you know what? I want to play this game.
Yeah, and that's the beauty because like you can play for like 3 hours or you can play for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know,
It's
it's
like,
great.
I'm still making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that game, I watched it when it first came out because I didn't play it, and now I can actually play it.
You're welcome.
It's so thank you. It's so fucking fun. Like it just that is the first game in a while that like there hasn't been anything that I've needed to like keep me going, you know? Like just the essence of the game is what makes
just
it
playing the game.
What makes me want to play it.
Yeah.
Because there's no I mean the story is kind of interesting actually. Like I find the like mystery kind of intriguing, but like I don't need any of that. Like just the game is fun.
It's just like I want to fight stuff.
Yeah.
Well, especially because as you play like with the quote, I guess like the campaign or like the ascension modes, a lot of the hard like as you keep going further and further up the ascension ladder, you can't start to rely on like the cookie cutter. Because like with Ironclad, for example, beginning it's like super easy. Just like, oh, I'm a strength guy. Like I want heavy blade, I want bludgeon, and then
heavy blade.
But there was one. I think when I jumped from Ascension 8 to Ascension 9, there's one card. I can't remember what it's called, but you can keep upgrading it infinitely.
Oh yeah.
And that was the reason why I won. It was like a really weird cheese. Like it's a super niche build, but like all the niche builds with all the characters, like you can make them work. And it's like very rewarding because it's almost like the discovery of like it's like a bar for I actually understand this game well enough where I don't need to do double flex heavy blade.
Right.
It's like I can run a like perfected strike build or I can run an exhaust build. And that's what I really like about the game.
Yeah. Once you like find those like more embedded builds that you can run. Yeah. God, so I just want to play that now.
Because that's all you've been playing, really, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was gonna be mine too. I picked up Slay the Spire, and I've been playing that a lot. I finished a run with Ironclad, Silent, and the Defect. So now I'm on the last game.
The Defect is really fun.
It's pretty wild. Things get weird. Things get really weird.
There's like, especially with the Defect, because I guess like if you want to look at the most basic builds you can do for each of the 3 characters, Ironclad, Silent, and Defect. Ironclad is like strength build, and
Silent's with like poison.
Yeah, you want to do like a poison or a shiv build, and then with Defect, it's like, oh, I'm going to run like a power build, because if you do powers, like all these things just start like falling into place. And I think it's really fun. I've had it happen most often with Defect, where I'm playing so many cards where I've stopped clicking and the cards are still playing. Because this card happens, and then like I shuffle 2 orbs and this orb effect happens, and because the orb effect, it's just like,
it's wild.
It's really fun.
Power cards are really fun. Those like passive, in any game really, I love the like passive effects where like the relics and then the power cards, it feels so good.
The worst is I had a really great power deck, and then in the 3rd act I got the Woke Bloke Bird boss. Have you that's the meme like in the community, mainly on the server. It's like the Woke Bloke.
Got it.
But his whole thing is like, you play a power, he gets stronger. I'm like, oh no. I'm so sorry.
I'm dead.
Yeah, because it's like, I've played 12 powers, he has 12 strength. I'm sorry.
Oh shit.
Whoops. Oh man.
But you were saying you were playing Monster Hunter a lot more now?
Yeah.
You ended up sinking your time into it?
Yeah, I was, because like leading up to Iceborne, I was like, I'm on the fence. Like, you know, I had my fun with the regular Monster Hunter world, and you know, Iceborne is more of the same, just more of, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, Iceborne is a fantastic game. And it follows the same line of most other Monster Hunters, where there's always the Ultimate Edition that drops, which usually comes with the inclusion of G rank, and G rank is just like, it's basically a whole nother game.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like super into Destiny, so I didn't know if I was gonna swap. But my girlfriend gave me, I think, $40 in Steam credit for Christmas. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll get Monster Hunter.
What do you know?
And then like the game comes out and I'm playing, and I'm just like, oh no. This game is great.
No, I love this.
I think taking that time off was like really helpful for me. Just like, wait, I love this game.
Because there's a period when that's all you guys played.
Yeah, like, that is legitimately all we played. And then the Destiny 2 came out and that took over. And
now,
back into Monster Hunter.
But I'd say it's like only like you and like a couple other people there. Someone playing.
Which I think was what happened last time. Like there was like three of us were playing like hardcore, and then there was like a couple other people who had the game and they would play, but
then I played the game.
Yeah.
I actually haven't been playing. I played like once this one since.
Yeah, you haven't played a whole lot.
It's a shame, because I also started actually working on one of the resolutions that I had, which was to start playing a game that like I could actually finish.
Yeah.
I started playing the worst game to choose for that, which is Divinity.
Yeah.
Because it's so goddamn long.
But it's like your game. I mean,
yeah.
You just chip away at it.
But it takes forever.
Do it for me.
But it's so fun. That like that's another just like amazing game.
It is. It is really fun. It's really wild, wacky. I'm now in like uncharted territory.
That's
from
the
like
fun
the
part.
other runs that we've done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like
you finally like crossed like, oh wait, I'm playing
you
new
left
game.
the tutorial.
Yeah, right.
New game content.
Got out of the island, but holy shit!
Because it's like 4 acts, so
4. Yeah.
So the first one was you get off the island, right?
Basically.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm assuming so.
Sure. Basically, like you get the
it's
ship.
Just been that long.
And
Yeah.
you leave.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's really great because a little while ago they patched the 3rd act, because the 3rd act was like a slog.
Yeah,
really?
They did. Yeah.
It was a lot of like backtracking, and just like the 3rd act is just so big in and of itself. Backtracking was just a nightmare, and they've like curbed down on that.
Huh?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Lucky.
Yeah. Lucky you.
Damn. Yeah, but I've been playing that, and then playing Fane and all the other like story characters, because I just wanted to See what that was.
Experience it.
Experience the story.
Because you're running what? Fane,
Fane,
Lose,
Los,
and Beast? Or Ifan?
No, Ifan and Red Prince.
Okay.
I remember Red Prince was the lizard dude.
Mm-hmm.
Thane was undead.
Mm-hmm. Ifan's the human ranger dude.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's what it is. I was like,
generic ranger man that is not generic.
Yeah.
that's not generic. Yeah,
And then Los is the
She's like the cleric?
girl.
the crazy like
Enchantress.
the
Enchantress. She's not the elf.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the normal person and then there's the elf.
Human lady.
I just remember
human-
her
or
like hearing.
elf
Does she
lady.
hear voices or some shit like that? I don't remember.
She has a guest in
That's
her
what it was.
that they call.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
like a really powerful
Yeah.
spirit. Yeah.
Red
Something.
Prince and Fane are just so funny though.
Yeah.
It's like especially Red Prince's story.
Mm.
I remember like I was trying to do a run on my own a while back, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Red Prince is great."
He's really funny.
I think those are my favorite. Fane and Red Prince have like
Good
it's really
banter.
funny.
I think I've just seen so many really funny memes about Fane
Mm.
where I just like him because his memes. But
Good meme.
Yeah. what are you up to, Harrison? What have you?
Yeah.
Trying to. Well, okay, yeah. I've been trying to balance out how to do everything. Do everything at once.
Yeah,
Like, still
The
have my
struggle.
sanity, like work,
yeah.
school.
Work, getting a master's degree, and then
almost don't
trying to
fucking
de-stress.
shit. Yeah, and then but like so there are times when it's like, oh, I've been really bad about playing stuff. I've been just watching more, just like I ended up watching YouTube, and I'm like, fuck. Well, actually, no.
The thing
Actually, I
you
did
didn't
watch some
wanna
other
do.
shows. Like I actually finished out some things.
Yeah,
But recently, I have. We'll talk about this later.
Oh.
Like I bought Warcraft,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and I like
Talk about it later.
I play. Okay, so like yeah, we'll talk about like the shit with that. But honestly, like when I play it,
Mhm.
like I haven't hit any of the bad stuff yet. But I also haven't played it enough.
Oh okay.
I've been playing more Legends of Runeterra a little bit more.
yeah. Because it was it open beta? Is that
Yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on?
and it's still going actually. I think so. At this point, I'm like, are they gonna do like the same thing with like they did with TFT, where it was in beta, but it's just out
Yeah,
type of thing. So I don't know if there's a window. I haven't looked into it.
I was real surprised when you guys said that was like not doing well because
Wait,
Warcraft. You mean?
Yeah, Warcraft 3, right? You guys said the re-release wasn't doing so great.
It has not been received.
It's not
Well,
been
very
received
well.
So
at
I was
all.
real surprised because I watched this.
We will talk about it later.
Yeah,
It's
all right.
trust me.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention the
okay.
people that I watched this D&D show and they like were talking about it and maybe they hadn't like I can't remember if they had played it yet or not, but they actually like had good things to say about it.
And like
Or they were sponsored by Blizzard.
yeah, I was gonna ask,
they
but
were,
like, but in
but-
all honesty, it's like it's not really.
I was just surprised.
It's the
that's all I
issue
wanted
is
to say.
the game actually doesn't have that many like big issues.
Yeah, like
it's just
it's not the game itself.
not-
It's,
it's
everything around,
around
the
it.
game was
Yeah.
a mess,
Yes.
and it is still an ongoing mess.
yeah.
Is the short
Like
and
I
skinny
have
of it.
I have talking points later on that.
Yeah.
'Cause I
I
looked
just
into it
wanted
more.
to say that I was
Yeah,
I was
but-
surprised.
Yeah,
Because like yeah, it's just like the state of the game is like
Mhm.
fine, but it's also yeah.
yeah. Like
there's a lot
the
of stuff.
game itself hasn't regressed. It's
Like me playing it, I was like, okay, this feels. The thing is, it does feel like the original Warcraft 3. So I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
But original as in like, yeah. Anyway, so there's other stuff.
Yeah. So you've been playing that?
I've been playing Legends of Runeterra, and then
How was that?
occasionally- it's actually not bad.
It's- I considered getting into the beta, and then I just didn't. I couldn't garnish enough interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of how I felt about it too.
I think it's just more like if you're playing Slay the Spire, I'd just play that.
Yeah.
But I just like the competitive part of it.
Mhm.
That's because when it comes down to it, I'm like, oh, it is cool. I can like make deck builds and all that. But
Mhm.
it's like, oh, this is what I miss about playing Hearthstone. Is like,
Mm,
oh, I
gotcha.
can actually just beat someone else.
Yeah,
And just put them in their
I just want to
place,
beat someone.
and then just
I could just beat the crap out of somebody.
show my authority.
Oh.
just play Magic.
That's a lot. I tried to get into that for a good bit, and it was just like,
I swear, like if you
if I had time to sit down and just like,
you talk to Garrett, be like, hey, there's this thing called Friday Night Magic. Do you want to go?
He would never.
Yeah.
He you know how he can like drop things? He could never drop
Yeah.
that.
no,
I don't think he'd ever
No.
get out.
no, I think
Because there's a huge social aspect,
Yeah.
and there's a competitive part, and there's just like the theory crafting, and
Yeah.
he's secretly a giant like card game nerd. He just
doesn't let himself all the
Yeah.
time. So
which is maybe smart. but-
smart. No, yeah. Because I think he knows he has like that collector's thing. So it's like because
Yeah.
if you listen to this, Gary, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he likes to collect stuff.
yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah, and then like, I mean, it's
Goes on
good.
that deep
It's
dive.
like interesting. It's like it's really cool that like they gave all the cards up front. It's just a matter of like when you get those cards.
Mm.
Like,
do you like it so far more than TFT or
yeah, just a little bit.
Okay.
I think this is because I like TFT. I did.
yeah?
It's
But
a
I
different
think
game, right? Like so different kind of.
It's a different game, but like
But there's just too much upkeep now with TFT. That's what I didn't like about League. Like that's actually what I
trying to
didn't like
learn the
about
meta.
Yeah, like it's like just like keeping up with that. What changes have happened, and
Doing
I'm sure
something more
I'm sure it'll
stable.
happen soon for like Legends of Runeterra too.
Yeah.
Like no
Yeah.
problem at all. I mean, that's good that a game progresses that way, but it's like for me, it's just a lot. I'm just like I don't have time for this because I remember like playing League the first time and I didn't know. This was for me. That was like one of the few first experiences where I'm like, oh, this is how game actually adapts.
Yeah,
And they have updates where I'm like, oh, I can't do the same build. And I remember
Yeah.
doing something the same, and then my cousin was like, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean? They updated the game. I was like, what? This is like, yeah. So I was just like, oh, shit.
How do you feel? Do you feel it's different enough? I mean, obviously, since you've been playing it
Mhm.
and you like it and it's captured your attention.
Yeah.
But do you feel it's different enough from the other card games out there that it'll like survive past like its?
I think it has the
Initial
accessibility.
interest.
I think it has better accessibility. It has the accessibility of Hearthstone with the complexity of Magic.
I think the big
Okay.
point that might it's not I don't think present now, but how you actually unlock cards in the game
Is
because
Yeah.
there's no, from what I understand, Riot's trying to make a card game where you don't necessarily buy packs. You can just choose to like, I want this card, I will unlock this card.
Gotcha.
And I think it's like every week or maybe every like whatever type of reset or whatever they do is you can unlock 3 cards at a time basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but
So like I literally just did that yesterday because
Yeah.
I just logged in for the first time in a while,
Mhm.
and that like it welcomes you to start, and it's like, oh, you can open these 3 things, and it gives you like I think it's it actually gives you a good amount of cards
Nice.
to where I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I think what helps is like with Magic, it's kind of harder in that like for a new person like me, like that's never kept up with it, and this is like totally new. It's like going in is actually a lot to keep up.
there's a lot
And
more complexity.
There's a lot
in
more
Magic.
complexity, and I think that it's great. I'm like, that's so dope, but I don't have time like that right now.
Yeah.
While like Legends of Runeterra does a really good job, and like they have tutorials, but tutorials in that like they talk about aspects of cards. Like, oh, this is what this kind of card does. This is what scenario you do it, and this is what happens when it happens to you. Blah blah blah. And there's like a lot. So I'm like, okay, for like as a new like I tried to go in and like I have no idea how to play a game. I've never played a card game. So like playing that, I'm like, oh, this actually they did a really good job. So I think there's accessibility that even Hearthstone doesn't have. But this is like more of as an option because you don't have to do the tutorials. They just have it as an option. It's like, oh, it's like here. Otherwise, like you could do like what Chris does, and he just jumps in, plays the game, learn the like that's
Just trial by fire.
But like, there's more to me. It's like a little bit of like an upgrade from Hearthstone. Like
Cool.
like Hearthstone is definitely like it's very dumbed down, but it's still good.
Yeah.
At the time. Now it's like I don't fucking know. Yeah, but now I think with this one is like, oh, you have if someone wanted to get into Magic, I say like, oh, you could play this to get an idea of how things work, or you could just go straight up into Magic, depending. But I'm just saying like it's another good option because right now, like I think if you only think about it, at least on the computer, you can only play like MTG, Hearthstone, and I think some people play Gwent. I don't know. I don't have enough of my friends talk about it. I don't hear about it enough.
Yeah, same.
On circles that I
about
listen
Gwent.
to. So
I did for a little bit, but
I know one of my friends was playing Gwent. I know, like with the standalone release of Gwent, I heard they changed it from how Gwent plays in Witcher 3.
Really? Okay.
Or maybe they changed it, but
Yeah.
I know there's a discrepancy where it's not a 1-to-1. Like there's just Gwent the game.
Yeah, but I also never got into Gwent when playing Witcher 3. So
Yeah.
that's why I was like, nah, that's whatever. So that's. But
do you really think Magic's that like, I don't know, intensive or complex? Like compared to, because
I don't have time to sit down and read every card, and they have so many different combinations that I don't.
think there's one thing. So in terms of like the actual paper Magic,
yeah.
you can't hover over it and be like, please explain what trample is.
Oh, sure. I was talking about the MTG arena.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, but I don't.
Because
I don't. What the fuck does trample mean?
well, it tells you.
Yeah,
And
but,
I mean that's the same thing as
but they don't
Hearthstone. Like they have the
I think the
keywords
thing-
that you have to
yeah, but the
know what they do.
but Hearthstone has less.
Do they?
Yes.
I think
Okay.
like watching. I had watched Scaro play some MTG Arena.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of visual clutter. Or
yeah.
it's also like me not understanding the full like phases of Magic. I
That too.
don't understand a lot of like
Okay, yeah,
why
there
is
are
he
different like
because like Hearthstone just like I swing.
turn phases.
Yeah, you can choose I swing for this, I
Okay.
swing for that. But I know with Magic, it's more of the line of I'm swinging at you. You choose what to block with, and it's like
yeah.
there's a lot of like arrows and stuff.
The
happening.
UI, yes, actually, that's a big thing. The UI in Legends of Runeterra is a lot easier on the eyes, and it makes more sense.
Huh.
While Magic is so complex to me. Just as a new person, it's very complex to the point where it's like, if you were to watch the game, and me not knowing what the fuck's going on, it's very boring to watch. Because I'm like, this is a lot happening. Why did that happen? But that's also just a factor of me just needing to sit down and learn it.
Like I think just mechanically Magic is the most intensive because you can have, this one card makes all of my green lands 3/3 token.
Right.
And it's like, and then you have discard or exile, which makes sense, but like it's just more things to take care of, and then you have
it has a lot of different
Like
you
once
have,
you start
like,
adding
an
up, like,
artifact item, you have like tapping for certain things. It's just there's just more.
There's a lot more.
Like I was
to
gonna
it.
say, if you even just try out Legend of Runeterra, you might get an idea because they do the same things. Like they have the same turns that is like, oh, okay, this is your turn, this is your attack turn. What can you do? And it's like, okay, cool. Like I think it just does a better job of just walking someone through the game, and it's like this is our game. Versus like Magic is like it's Magic. You know what Magic is. They have you can access whatever you want online and all that. There's so much, but you have to. I feel like with Magic, I have to go out and look into it, or literally just sit down and look at every card. But why the fuck do I want to do that? Versus just let me know like what's keywords happen, but then they keep adding stuff like a lot on top of that, or adjusting certain things. That's what it feels like to me. I don't keep up with it, so that's just my take on that. Like I've been wanting to get into Magic for so long. It's just like I think it's just right now where I'm at. I'm like I don't have time for that, and I don't watch streamers enough that I'm like, oh, I get the game. So
Okay.
or I could just be dumb. So it's whatever.
I don't believe that. But interesting.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
No, I hadn't heard. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about all the different factors that Magic does actually have.
Yeah.
Within the
Have
game.
you played Magic before, Ian?
Yeah.
Like
not in person. No.
okay, just on MTG Arena.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is you also kept up with people that actually played it a lot. Like I don't watch anyone play MTG.
I watched one dude who played it.
Yeah.
I watched Day9.
Well, yeah,
Played
that's
it a lot.
Day9's
But he
perfect to
would
watch.
also like explain things. That's kind of like his
Which the
thing,
game does
is,
not
like,
do.
He's be a better gamer.
Yeah.
This is like a thing. So he'll like go through a game. He'll like explain what's happening, and So
yeah.
I got that benefit from it, or that.
I was gonna say,
edge.
and then like that's what I was gonna say is like if you watch like me watching someone explain, that's cool. But like your comment of like why not just read it? I'm like you could, but that means I would have to actually go into the collections and look at what for certain cards that do it, and then like understand what that is. Because when I play the game, I'm like, oh shit, how did that work? And then they don't let you like it's very hard to keep up with. Like they flash it for a bit, you have time to read it, and then then it goes away.
I haven't played in a while. but I think you're right. I think like Hearthstone had the past.
You have
tracker.
to pass, and you could just sit there and look at it.
Yeah, and you could like see what
While
happened last turn. I don't
Magic,
know
from
if
what I remember,
MTG
it just
does have
flashed it
that.
because I played it a couple days ago just to compare to Legends.
Oh,
Return,
really? Oh.
Just because I was curious, and I keep getting packs from Twitch, so I'm like, fuck it, why
Yeah,
not?
that might be something they need to.
So,
add
and
in.
it could also just be me not like knowing how the UI works.
Maybe.
But then
yeah.
there's like UI to have to worry about. While like I think that's what Hearthstone and Legends of Terror does a very good job in that the UI is very user friendly.
Interesting. I need to check this out.
But yeah, anyway, anything else we've been playing?
No, I'm not playing a whole lot right now.
Otherwise,
We've been playing some Destiny.
Yeah,
but
like I played
that's about
Smash because Byleth came out.
Yeah.
but
That's it. She's
Yeah.
fun.
all right. So I want to try to add a new segment to this,
Cool.
and essentially it's
I hate change.
I hate you.
oh well. Well, okay, so essentially like with like I'd say like a lot of shit's been happening in the world period. So I think it's nice to add something that's like, oh, let's talk about the dope shit we've heard.
Something to
Just
date
something,
the podcast.
just- Huh?
I said something to date our podcast.
I mean, we need to keep up with it. Yeah.
yeah. No, current events, cool.
Yeah. The more I
you
talk,
got?
yeah, you're right though. But essentially, it's not really current. It's just like you could even just be like, I just heard this, and then
Right.
someone's like, yeah, that happened like 5 months ago, dude.
Whispers and rumors.
Jesus.
No. But essentially,
I've titled the segment. It's
no,
done.
hell no, fuck off. But essentially, like, I just wanted to see like if you guys heard anything cool. Like, I mean, I could even start off just to claim one, just give an idea. But essentially, like, I'd say like the past week, Final Fantasy VII trailer dropped,
I
a new
didn't
one,
watch it.
Really? I haven't seen that.
It came with little fanfare.
Oh.
and
Like I saw it was posted
Sorry.
on one of the subreddits I follow,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, cool. I read the comments and I never watched it, and was like, cool.
damn.
Huh.
So I'm
I'm-
way
I need to
more
watch
fucking
that.
hyped for this game.
Really?
Yes.
Is it a good trailer?
Yes.
Sick.
Damn it. Yeah, I guess I was like, fuck, if you guys haven't seen it, I'm like, there's like, well,
Yeah,
okay, so
sorry.
essentially like, they show like things that I'm like, okay, cool, this game is actually going to do, like, for instance, Cloud being in, like, being gender bent. Remember, like, that whole thing where he, like, wears his dress and all that? They show that. I'm like, and it was funny, I was watching a lot of reactions, everyone's like, they made Cloud hot. What the hell?
Yeah, dude.
But it's like, because compared to, like, the pixel, like, the fucking 3D polygon
yeah, you're
thing.
like,
But like this game is like they show like the childhood scene. They don't hold back on anything. They're like, hey, this is the game, but we assume that you've played before, so this is essentially what we're gonna like. We were actually touching this. They showed like the certain like business people, and it's like on point of like what they look like, how they would act. And I'm like, wow, this is really dope. It's been like I haven't played through 7, so like I haven't played through it all the way, but I've like read enough, I've watched enough stuff. I'm like, okay, I know the game, but I will play this game just to like experience it this way because it looks so good.
yeah.
Sick.
I'm really excited for it. I didn't finish 7, but I played it not when it first came out, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when
when
I
it
was,
kept-
I was doing like a lot of retro games in
When it
college.
got released on every other console.
No. I like bought an old system and
Oh,
played
okay.
it on there.
Yeah, I bought it when it came out on Steam.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, but you might as well wait because it's coming out in like 2 months.
Yeah. Right. No, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, it's
play
like
the
coming
new
out soon. It's like April 10th or something like that.
game. Dang.
And I'm like, because
Yeah,
I think
that's
you
the
got some-
next big release.
Yeah.
Like
Is
you've
it?
got Animal Crossing,
in
and
March,
then
and a month later.
oh, I guess no, it'd be Animal Crossing and Doom,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Final
March.
Fantasy is the next big one, I think.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like,
Because Cyberpunk got pushed back.
Yeah.
so now everyone can breathe for a second. But
is there anything
but
else
it's,
big? Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I can't.
like Final Fantasy kind of has its own bubble of like we're coming out this time.
Yeah.
Which is honestly smart from everyone else who's releasing a game. You don't want to. I think 7's going to be huge. That you don't want to like compete with that.
yeah. I
Don't
mean,
think so?
yeah.
Yeah,
I-
well,
I was just trying to think if there's anything else. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't. I mean, I could look at a list, but honestly, I'm probably just.
I
focused on
don't
7.
really know how I feel about the combat. Like playing with my 2 hours of Final Fantasy 15 I've had.
Yeah.
The combat was like meh. It was like it was a combat, and I know that's what Final Fantasy 7 is like playing off of is 15 and like Kingdom Hearts 3 combat.
Interesting.
So,
But I think it's just because you don't like
Yeah.
that, right?
well, I mean, I do because like I really liked Final Fantasy 12, and their combat wasn't necessarily turn-based. It kind of had that more real-time combat.
Which one was 12?
The one everybody forgot about.
Oh,
You have like Vaughn, Ash, Balthier,
Bunny Girl?
Bunny Girl.
Oh, okay. That actually has really interesting combat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like that was really unique because I hadn't seen something like that in a while. Or at all.
Yeah, it's maybe just like I only played 2 hours of Final Fantasy 15, so maybe I didn't like get into the meat of combat, but
yeah.
it was
Yeah, I can't say. I played it, but I didn't play enough
Yeah.
to like get
like
the
I
combat,
actually I don't it's either I don't mind or I actually like turn-based combat. I don't
because
really
this
know.
one is supposed to have like
Because-
the pause, like you're actually supposed to be able to pause or slow down.
Yeah.
So there's a tactical mode in 7
Yeah, 'cause
compared to like
They explained
15.
like you still have like your like move bar, or I guess you're like your turn bar, because they were clear like you can just do it's basically you basic attack until your thing charges up, and they're like, okay, now you can do your move.
Interesting.
So maybe I'll feel different about it, but
Because for 12, it was you could free run, you could run around and choose like people's attack patterns, stuff like that, and then they had like a bar that would fill up, and then they would
and that bar would
execute
fill
that
up based
action.
on their weapon,
Yeah.
or you could just casting spells based on their magic skill.
Right.
But maybe I haven't probably immersed myself enough in that specific combat because I didn't play a lot of Final Fantasy 15.
yeah, and you don't play Kingdom Hearts, so
That was
so
I watched someone play, and like the combat I think is fine.
Mm-hmm.
The game itself I think was a train wreck, but
yeah, but
it's weird. Like I don't know. I love the Final Fantasy franchise, but with 7, I think it's more. I have that blocker of I need to beat 15 before I can do anything else. So I think
God.
that's what
mental...
that's like blocking me from like I'm excited for 7.
Oh Jesus, yeah, no, I'm just like 15 will come when it has time, but when I have time for that, but I will I'll put 15 aside just for 7, just because it looks so fucking good. Like I'm like,
It does look really good.
like this is amazing. Like,
It does
holy
look-
shit. And I'm like, I've kind of looked into the comments. So I'm like, okay, I'll play it. I'm like pretty cool.
Is it
with
coming out on PC as well, or is it only on PS4?
year
for
later.
now? Okay, so you're getting it on your PS4.
I don't know yet. I think I will, but I think timing, because the timing kind of works out. Like for me, I'm just timing everything based on school. So like,
Yeah.
essentially, I won't buy it right away, but it'll be like a month later. I'm like, okay, maybe. So, but yeah, you guys should check out the trailer. It's so fucking dope.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that for sure.
It's just like it's just showing off like I think the news. I think his rendition of one of the older songs, and he just sounds really good.
Oh, okay.
Like I think it was yeah. Just watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's my dope thing that I heard.
Sick. I haven't really. I've been trying to think. The only thing I saw was just the I think it came out like 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of old. But it was the not Skyrim. Sorry, is it Elder Scrolls Online? The new thing for that.
The new expansion
The new
trailer.
expansion. Yeah,
That was
Essentially.
cool.
essentially going back to Skyrim.
Yeah.
You guys were playing Elder Scrolls Online for a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, and then Destiny 2 happened.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what happened.
It's unfortunate.
I mean, we only paid like $10.
Yeah, it's still unfortunate.
Yeah.
I lost $10.
See, it's that thing where
Yeah.
I align with one of my other friends where everybody plays the game and then a week or two later, dead
Yeah.
on arrival.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls, Halo.
Well, no, okay, so Halo though, playing it, like it's nostalgic, but then I remember, the combat's like,
Yeah. But like, cause you got it, and I think 4 or 5 of our friends got it. I was like,
No,
yeah,
I
I'm
think
not gonna get
I think
it.
it was also just like everyone didn't sound. This is from my point of view and my experience in that, like when we play online, it was always the whole oh, Harrison's on topic. Harrison's number one again. Harrison's great. Oh, okay. We just get carried by Harrison. I'm like, all right, you guys don't sound like you're having fun, so I'm just gonna leave.
Damn. I know a couple of our friends played a few times.
Like
Matt and Nikhil.
After. Yeah, they played after.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it always just felt like, but it always came to like, and then when they get on, it's like, oh, they just get on like League. I'm like, all right, I guess we're not playing Halo.
Yeah.
It's always like they'll go back to League, and I will call them out on this every time. It's like, hey, you guys want to play a game? I was like, yeah, you know what I'm not gonna play, so why the fuck are you asking me?
Yeah. I mean, that's their like go-to game.
I want that thing to die.
I don't.
Or no. I want
I
want the way they ask to play games to die. It was funny back then, but now it's like, oh, it's like, I was like, we all know what we're each gonna play. Just join the fucking game if you can play. I will put that here and now.
I will end this man's career, this game's career.
But that's to me, that's why Halo for me just became
Gotcha.
I think playing Destiny, like having those shooting mechanics, and then playing, like, to me, I'm in the minority that 5 was good. Like shooting mechanics.
Well, I think 5
great.
does have the best like mechanics. I think the story was
like what overshadows it. It was like, oh, this is a bad
the mechanics were wrapped in this like piece of poop.
Yeah.
So
was 5 with
Locke.
the other
Locke.
Yeah, Locke.
Halo 5 Guardians.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then 4 was with when Cortana.
She went a little cray.
Woo woo. Yeah.
Still woo woo.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do with that franchise.
Yeah.
Because they have the one trailer for 6. And they haven't touched it since.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's gonna be an E3 thing, but
I'm sure. And I think it's also just
they want to throw it on probably Xbox X.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's called.
For sure. But it's also supposed to come out on PC. Same time.
Yeah, but
like, so I feel like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think once we hear more about their new console,
it's just this randomly came into my head where like a lot of these long-term shooter games with stories just like don't know what they're doing because Halo stories kind of gone wacky. A lot of complaints I've seen with Destiny in terms of story is that new things keep happening without resolving old stories.
Yeah.
Borderlands 3 was trash in my opinion in terms of writing.
I think it's just like a lot of like the team is never the same now.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Yeah, that might be it.
Like if you look at Borderlands team, it's not the same.
Yeah,
like the writer,
team.
like
I
forgot. That the lead writer that made Borderlands 2 good, just like wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Can't remember.
He left like years ago.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, because there's a long gap between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
You had,
I mean,
there's
there's like the
games.
prequel one.
Yeah, the prequel sequel.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. What about you, Luke?
The only thing of note, and it is barely a note at all, is I watched, I think it was leaked footage of some Babylon's Fall gameplay.
Oh.
And
the leak. Yeah.
That was it.
Huh.
And they were like showcasing some air combat.
Uh-huh.
And it did not look good.
Oh.
It was leaked, and the game is still in development, so that's fine. And it's also Platinum Games.
Yeah.
And Platinum Games has like a huge amount of really good games under their belt. Yeah. But even comparing like, because like Bayonetta and Nier, really good combat. But this one just didn't look good. Especially after playing Devil May Cry 5, and they have really tight air combat. This one looked very clunky. But it is leaked footage, so like there's nothing to say about that besides like...
Because it's for PS5, right? That's what they...
I've no idea.
No idea? Okay.
I'm assuming so, because I don't
assume.
think they had a release date either.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like meant for like that new gen or anything like that, but...
there's not a whole...
interested in that.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of things that look cool that turn out garbage.
That's true. Yeah.
True. Shit.
It's like that is one of those names where it's like, I'll pay attention to that.
Yeah. I don't know. It has that trend of like, let's just make a game with a word and it ends in fall.
Yeah.
Because there's God's Fall, Babylon's Fall, Greed's Fall.
Yeah.
Like,
Everything's falling. Oh
Yeah.
Why is everything
Everything is garbage. Yeah, I don't really. There's not a whole lot for me.
cool? Well,
All right. Well, we're gonna take a little break, and then we'll just be right back.
All right, and we're back from the break, and we're going to be transitioning to the main topic of today's episode, which is being an ethical consumer as a video game consumer. The main reason I think this is an interesting topic is we've had a couple of big games come out lately where either based on development time or just how it was released, it's very anti-consumer. What I mean by that is, in terms of ethics, the game was developed very poorly in terms of there was a lot of crunch. Or you have something like Warcraft 3 where Blizzard is so like draconian with all of their terms of service where it's very clear Blizzard wants something from you when you get the game. Either trying to take one of the big things with the Warcraft 3 remaster is in the terms of service, this is breaking down a very technical legal document. You basically don't own the rights to any custom content you make, like custom maps. It's all Blizzard's IP technically, which like there's always been a lot of contention just in custom or modded communities and how their stuff is treated. But Blizzard was very clear that you do not own the custom maps you make.
So about that, the question I have about that is that not like in, let's say, StarCraft 2, was that not the same? Or like back in Warcraft 3, like when it originally released, was that not
No,
the same?
it was not so essentially like it's like they had a new agreement in there that you have to. It's like essentially saying like all copyrights. It copyrights all the user generated stuff that anyone makes, and it's now under Blizzard property.
Because that's the whole thing with the original Warcraft 3. Because Dota started out as a Warcraft 3 mod,
right?
And that map basically broke away, and Valve took those rights, and that's why Valve has Dota.
Yeah, I see.
Where Blizzard is like putting their foot down, like you cannot own anything you make from us, like bar none. There is no argument. You sign the agreement, you accept.
Like any game that could possibly come out of this
is ours. Like if if someone somehow made like a Dota 3, that's Blizzard's now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But essentially, it's like back then they freely gave everyone like a map creator,
right?
Which then became like, oh, now this is how custom games were made because people would make that kind of stuff. That's how like Dota was created because it was just made in that. And I remember being like, I know now it's just more of like those custom games that I was like, because I bought Warcraft 3 and then in anticipation of, oh cool, I'll play the campaign but mostly come back and play like custom games that I played back then, like as like middle school me would get to play that. Elementary school me would get to play all that shit.
Right.
It was like, oh man, it was like Footman Frenzy. There's like freaking like there was Dota. I think Dota was like the thing to get because it was so hard to download because you had to at least play it once. That means you had the custom map saved and all that stuff. I don't remember how it worked, but there's like a lot of like custom games I remember playing. It'd be always like, oh, team v team kind of things. It's you have to make all these. The fun of it was custom games, and I was like, this is dope. And some people, and I was like, oh, maybe someone would make like a custom like campaign that you could play through, and it's like, oh, okay, they could remake certain scenarios in Warcraft, like World of Warcraft even. Or
and besides all that debacle of custom content, a lot of the shown features or like features shown in trailers didn't make it into the game.
Yeah. I actually have a list of things.
There's stuff like they were going to have newly animated cinematics that never made it into the game.
It was it was shown in BlizzCon like 2018. Yeah. I remember that. It wasn't last year, so it's the year before, and it was like, oh, like specifically it was like that Strahome. I can't say it correctly, but it's like Arthas comes on into the city as, oh, this is like his turning point of becoming like his downfall, and it's like they animated it and it looks so great, and then in game it's just like the same fucking. It's like so bad. It's like, oh, this is
Just
like in game.
a lot of promises to make the game look very enticing.
Yeah.
That never made it into the game, and there's an extensive list of cinematics, new VOs or voiceovers. Like I think the only new thing is that the textures have been resized. Is that
something like that?
Like they've essentially retextured the game.
They retextured the game. Like everyone has like new models and everything, and it looks really good. But like up to a point, it's like you still have like the whole. I can't play the game. I can't go online. There's still a lot of bugs. There are still bugs from the original Warcraft 3 that are in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, this is supposed to be like, you guys said that this would be like a remake from the ground up. They'll actually like.
Yeah, it's effectively just a remaster.
Yeah,
which
it's just a remaster. Which I'm like, if they said that, I don't think it would have been as bad. But it's like reforged. Oh, we are redoing this. There's new cutscenes, all this stuff.
Yeah,
and even like there's some things in the game that are just not in it, like how there used to be clans, even profiles. Like I don't have like a profile that's like, oh, this is how. Well, I mean, there's like a profile like tracking all your ladders, like or what ladder you're in, how you're doing, your matchmaking, all that stuff. It's just there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I guess the broader topic of being an ethical game consumer comes from basically what the companies do, because like. Disregarding what Warcraft 3 Reforged was, Blizzard as a whole has kind of shown lately that they're not the same Blizzard they were before.
So, in being an ethical consumer, the main question is,
should you consider...
Do you buy things if they are produced unethically, or if the company
it's basically like
deliver what
supporting companies when they do the stuff.
Right.
Like Blizzard... like politically have aligned themselves with China, which a lot of people agree and disagree with, and so that's kind of the big debacle.
Right.
The main point, the reason I thought of this topic in the first place was Cyberpunk 2077 was originally going to launch in March, and they delayed it until September.
Right.
And game delays are fine, but the CD Projekt Red CEO went on record maybe a week or two later saying, because of this delay, like it's unfortunate. We're going to have our team crunch really hard.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, crunch in the game industry is basically pretty brutal overtime periods for extended amounts of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like working overtime, you do see that on projects, like some things get behind, some things need more work, but crunch is usually seen as the game isn't done yet. So we're going to finish the game in this set amount of time, even if it takes us 90 hours a week, which is CD Projekt Red did that with Witcher 3, where it was delayed. And then in that period of its original release to its new release, they did, I want to say, at least 80-hour weeks for Witcher 3. And people like post-mortem or after the fact of the game talked about, like it was some of the worst working periods we've ever had, because it's like trying to think of how to do an 80-hour week. That's like an 8 to midnight,
something like that. Yeah,
something
I mean
like
an
that,
80-hour week.
Yeah, like that's just
time.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And especially you've heard a lot of companies have their employees talk with anonymity about what the crunch is actually like, where it's like people having like breakdowns, like they're just exhausted beyond what they should be.
Also, what's unfortunate is that like that's not very well known.
Yeah, it is just now becoming known that like when we work crunch, it's bad.
Yeah.
And like now knowing what CD Projekt Red did with Witcher 3, they're probably going to do the same thing with Cyberpunk, which is from March until September. It's going to be 90-hour weeks for all of them. And me being in the game industry, it's like, like crunch is rough. And I didn't even have a bad crunch.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did like 60-ish hours a week for a while, which is like not bad, but I think just as a whole, crunch is bad because it's usually a sign of we could get into all the reasons of why crunch is a thing, but knowing that they're going to be going through a really brutal crunch, it's like I can't in good conscience buy Cyberpunk 2077 because I'm supporting a company that's like, yeah, like we did this to get this game out and it's great. And like, yeah, I'm going to buy it because I don't really care about what other people had to go through.
Yeah.
And that's my whole take, I guess, is trying to support that. And on the plus side, buying games where the developers did a really great job of like, we had mentioned it before, Ian and I, but Supergiant, the developers for Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, they're doing Hades. They've had a couple articles talking about like why they are one of the best game companies to work for. And that's like, yeah, we don't crunch at all. We don't mess with any of that. We have a mandatory 2 weeks off for everybody. It's like the work-life balance for them is like what you should be going for. Yeah. Whereas you have CD Projekt Red or Rockstar. It's like, no, you work for us and we're going to like squeeze every bit of creativity out of you and then just discard you, because Rockstar is also notorious for having brutal crunches for specifically Red Dead Redemption 2. They had an article written about how it was bad.
Yeah, I think it's been kind of proven that the more how do I want to say this? The more the
longer you're at work type thing, are you thinking
kind
of
of
that?
Yeah, well, like if you give your employees like that time off and you give them that like there's like a balance, and if you create that balance for them or create an environment where they can achieve that balance, they will work more effectively and they will be more effective.
Yeah.
As opposed to ramming them against the computer for 90 hours a week. But I was going to say it's interesting. Just an interesting thought was, how do you get a company to change that? And you can say like, vote with your wallet, don't buy the game.
Yeah. But
I also wonder how that affects the people who worked on the game. So if you're saying you're not going to
I was gonna
buy the game, what does that do? And I mean, they already get paid. I'm assuming they get paid a salary, so they're going to get paid.
Some of them do, some of them don't. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But
or salary or hourly.
Yeah.
But so like if the game tanks, like what does that do for the employees too?
Yeah, and that's,
and I don't know.
Because I was going to say, playing devil's advocate, it's like it's with that, it's a project that if I would say, like, I would assume some people are working on it because they at least want to.
Yeah.
Like, it is their, like, that is their work. That is, like, they've been working months, years on end just to get that project out. And if someone's going to say, oh, because the company does crunch, I'm not saying that's not a bad thing, but there is a deadline that they have to hit, because I'm sure there's stock, like, comparatively, I'm sure with CD Projekt Red, Rockstar has, like, stockholders that are in it, and it's like, hey, it sucks that you guys have to turn it out after a certain point, but there is a cost benefit to that, in that, like, if you have someone working on it longer, you're spending more money and then you're going to lose out. And then it's like, in the eyes of a stockholder, that's all they know is like, hey, you're using way more money than you need to. So, but it's like, but then for like the developers, is like, oh, I want to make this the best thing. I know there's got to be someone that's like, hey, I want to make this good. I've seen,
it's not a lot, but I have seen, there was like this weird bit Twitter battle like last year, around some time, where there was like a dev who said that. He basically, his thoughts were like, if you're gonna complain about it, then like leave. Like, we don't want you here. We care about the game. We're gonna like make it as good as possible.
Because then it becomes like you're using it as like a humanitarian thing, but sometimes it's like, what if they are working on it hard because they want to make it good? Because it's like, if you make a bad game and you push it out as well, that's also bad. It's like it's a double-edged sword. Like, it's like, which would you rather have?
Especially because so many industry people I know who are salaried, like, they don't get overtime. And so when you're working 50 hours extra for like, oh, I'm not getting paid for any of this? Oh, okay. This is awful. Because it's, oh, I don't get paid extra for this. I don't get to see my family. Because, like, oh, what about them? They want to work on the game. We're like, well, what about their family? Like, they're not seeing their family until, like, hey, I'm home at 10 p.m. I'm going to bed. I'll be at work at 5. by.
Hey, so devil's advocate to that, that's also normal in other companies. Like if a big project comes out,
Yeah.
the person, if you're higher up, I've seen my bosses do it. They're never home as often because they have to push
Yeah.
something out. So it's not just the gaming thing.
Like I think
Over
it's
time-
the extremity, I think, of how long crunch can go on for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
just
want to
wanna
try and
say-
knock down all the points that Harrison mentioned, where
Okay.
like
just all the
thinking
dumb-
thinking from like, oh, vote with your wallet. The studio doesn't make money, so the employees don't get paid. I don't like that. That's probably dependent on how each company
yeah,
does their
works.
pay, but like
Yeah.
like where I work, I just get paid. Like it's not
Mhm.
dependent on like, hey, we have a contract, we can pay you now. It's like, no, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the fact of
Yeah.
because that
Unless
was
the
your
company,
point.
like,
Because that was
went-
your point, I think, right? Because I
What?
don't like
No,
the whole-
I was just asking like
Oh,
what
okay.
happens if a game tanks, what happens to those employees' reputation
'cause then
in
there's
the
the
game
next
industry,
project.
what happens to their
Yeah.
pay if
It's not that project. It's like what happens
Yeah.
if they can't get another project.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's not
like
Gonna-
I was just
yeah.
asking that out there. But
on the very few experiences I've like read. I've never experienced it, but like I've read, when things tank, it's generally looked at from top down. Like you're not gonna have like you're like, hey, I'm just the UI artist. You're
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
get
I'll agree
reamed.
with that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have like your artist lead is like, hey, what happened?
It's the reputation
Or,
of
like,
the company,
the game
or
director.
CEO, or
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it's
director.
the project leads, and then obviously the project leads can take it out on their like staff, and some do,
Mhm.
but you will have mass layoffs. Probably like if the company folds, like you're gonna fall. But like think about Mass Effect 3. Maybe that's a bad example, but like BioWare's reputation tanked.
Yeah.
Mass
And-
Effect 3 or Andromeda?
or
I think it
Andromeda.
was
Sorry,
Andromeda,
Okay.
yeah.
Andromeda.
I was like,
Um,
wait, Mass Effect 3? Hold up.
Although they had problems with the ending.
They
I'm
had,
sure.
yeah, they had problems. I think just with 3, but specifically Andromeda. Like
But that was a
Andromeda
choice.
was not received well,
Yeah.
and that was looked at from BioWare's just like leads
Yeah.
probably didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about like the inner workings, but I know a lot of people jumped out of BioWare before Andromeda started. I think like
yeah.
their like lead writers left already.
They had, they had
Yeah.
a lot of issues. Something I did want to say about what Harrison said was
Oh, yeah, let's talk
we're
about me.
talking about no, it was just something I wanted to clarify was like overtime is like a thing in our society.
Yeah.
Just as
Yeah.
a whole thing. But we're just taking a look at it through video
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's also,
and also just because it is a thing does not mean it's good.
yeah, just
No.
because it's a thing. And it's also like with like using for your boss, for example, when she does that overtime, does she usually take time off after or no?
No.
So she doesn't compensate.
No.
Okay.
There's no, like that.
'Cause
That's
that-
just
yeah.
like to me, like as like a person outside, I'm like, well, this is also a normal thing that I've seen, and that like
Yeah.
it's not just my boss. I'm just saying like I've heard other people in general is like when you have a big project coming out and it's like indicative of like, oh, like a company has like this, like for instance, there's like a healthcare company that has like a new software. It's like they're pushing it. The person has to like get it implemented and everything
Yeah.
after a certain point. You don't just get time off after. You have to move to the
Do
next
you
one.
think that a lot of game industry crunch is pointed towards like mismanagement?
Yeah, no.
Is that the
I'm-
same thing with like if you have a new software coming out, does it like have you personally experienced new software
No,
coming
so that's
through?
what I'm saying. But
Okay.
I've just heard like from like my other friends that like work in that industry or like other people that have talked about it. It's just more like, but the difference is that the software is always going to be the same. That's what
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Like the idea of it, like overtime, like actually overtime pay is not common.
Yeah,
So it's just like
I guess so.
the only way you can get that is if you're hourly, and I'm sure
Using-
that's what happens.
Yeah, using CD Projekt Red as an example. I guess in my opinion, it was mismanagement.
yeah. I would.
I
would
think it was
so.
like last year or the year before. They were like, "Yeah, the game is done. Like we can play it start to finish. We just need to like do
It's just
assets and all
it's
that."
all the other stuff.
And then
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, turns out we're gonna delay by a couple months because we need to polish everything." That means
Mhm.
like you weren't done then. Like that is a mismanagement.
I
of-
thought the game was the story was playable start to finish, but now they're working on like the side quests, like all the stuff.
they just
outside of
said
it.
general polish, which
Oh.
means like this is not done. That means we have probably a lot of bugs that we either didn't address or we're
Mhm.
now just like, "Oh, this is kind of important."
Mhm.
that. And yeah, it is probably like, I mean, polishing a side quest is like making sure the writing's okay, it's scripted okay.
Yeah. Because playing a The Witcher 3, I think knowing like to me it was when I read it, I was just like, oh, I guess they just needed more time. Yeah, it's gonna crunch, but I know like it's because it sucks is they brought their reputation up that high with Witcher 3 and that like, oh, these side quests and like all the, like the world itself, like all the things you can interact is like so well done. And that like I'm like I think they kind of put themselves into that
it's
corner.
like you look back to when they first teased it, it's like, hey, Cyberpunk 2077 coming out when it's ready. And then here's the release date. Yeah. We're not ready. It's like, okay. This is not like this is not a oops, there's more. It's like, no, we have set our release date knowing it's not ready. Because that's one of the big things where crunch happens is you set the release date and you're like, we're gonna get to this point, and then
I was always curious who sets that. Do you know? Is that like a?
It's a collaborative thing. There's got to be marketing in it. There's got to be like
it comes from the publisher.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that case, CD Projekt Red is their own publisher, and so they set that, and that's probably a combination of their CEO, their product management team, their marketing team. But like in terms of,
there's not like one person. There's,
like the games I've worked on, it wasn't our company. It was our like contracted company because they're publishing the game.
Right.
They get to the deadline, and then we never hit those deadlines because we weren't ready. And that's because like, yeah, you set that. You
set that.
It was mainly their fault because like, hey, we want to add new stuff. And we're like, we're 2 weeks out from release. It's gonna take a while to put in. But part of crunch is mismanagement.
Yeah.
And I guess talking about one of Harrison's points, like people want to work there. I think that's fine. Like people have a passion to work in the game industry. And I think that's where it gets kind of nefarious because like, oh, you have a passion, you'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's the issue.
And so it's like the industry is partly held up by basically, what's the word? I don't want to say abusing, but
it's close.
They're taking advantage of people who like, I want to do this, I'll do whatever it takes. Like, okay, do you want to work 90 hours a week? Because one of the big exposés of crunch when it first happened was, I want to say in like maybe the mid to late 2000s. It was like I can't remember the full phrase, but it was a wife of someone working on an EA title. And she was explaining like how they basically did the whole process where they hired her husband, and it was for like a basic contract, like a 6-month contractor project. Here's your pay, all that. Like, we'll have some moments of overtime, but we'll warn you in advance. We'll comp you after. And they hit their first 60-hour week, and he didn't get time off. And they're like, oh, like it's just gonna be a little longer. Like, just keep on working. And then like 8 months rolls by, and they're like, hey, we need to bump you to like 70 hours a week.
Scummy as fuck.
And it turns out he ended up working on that project for 1.5 years with 80 hours each week.
That's stupid.
And there's like, yeah, we're not going to comp you. We're like, you don't get paid extra. You don't get comp. We never told you. Like,
it's just kind of like the care.
This is what happened. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And you're just like, well, I need a job.
Yeah. And that's the one thing. It's like, like I know I was talking about like that software, but like, for instance, that's what sucks is like, no one gives a shit about that.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, most people that are working this is probably like, oh, I actually want to do this. Like, this is fun. But to an extent, it's like, I think it's just because the company, like whoever hires probably know that, blah, blah, blah. So that's super scummy though.
Yeah. Like that's the thing where like crunch is scummy and just feels bad. And I think as an industry, there's a bunch of ways people want to try and address crunching, like unionizing.
Yeah, I was going to say unionizing is like a big one.
Or even just like, find the company that doesn't crunch, which there are very few. Like EA now is considered one of the best game companies to work for. Ubisoft is considered very good to work for. Like Valve, Supergiant, like I mentioned. They're usually not ones to crunch, but most game industries like you're gonna crunch, and that's like varied because like I crunched, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
The original Halo creators are working on a game. And the game director just mentioned like, oh yeah, well, like we've had crunch and it's like at least 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
which is like okay.
That's
like
not terrible.
people like 50 hours isn't that bad, but it's like yes and no. There's a lot of weird because like at least 50 can mean a lot of different things, and also like it could be at least 50 for 2 weeks.
It's just 50.
It could be we've been working at least 50 hours for 2 years. It's like there's just a lot of hidden things about crunch that I think more people should be aware of. Like as just a generic consumer, you should be aware of that. But also like some people just don't seem to care, which that's
I would say
something.
It's kind of bad to the point where it's like I think it's like the stigma at this point because it's so we're also aware about it now. It's like, oh, maybe that is just the industry.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks too.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. My opinion with a lot of things, like you should always like never be complacent when things are bad.
Yeah.
And it's just I guess it's sad to see when people are complacent about like, oh, it's the industry, like because it's almost the same thing with like when you get into TV or film, where a lot of people like, this is my passion. I'm gonna go to California. I'm gonna have 7 roommates paying for like a room the size of 800-foot room, but you know I made it, and I'm working 60 hours a week, but I made it.
I'm doing the grind,
and then 2 years later they come back and like that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, but I mean with that. It sucks is it's like because you can't because with acting at least just going off that it sucks because Cali is the place to go to. You can't do anything here because I have a friend that's like that tried to do in Dallas. There's not much, and then like someone's gone to, and I know some have like you just go to Cali just because that's where the industry is
for TV and film. California
or just go to Canada.
Voice acting, you have a little bit in Dallas, but you have so much in California.
It's pretty saturated here though too.
And then if the only other thing is like stage acting, and the only way to like the only way to make that like your only thing is New York.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
so
Broadway. Everyone's like
Broadway.
Go to New York.
Yeah, and there's some TV in New York too, but it's not.
There's some TV everywhere, but it's like
it's not.
It's not as the accessibility of like having consistent work.
Yeah,
is like you might as well go to like
in New York. I think the only stuff is like night shows, talk shows.
That's true. That's true. So, which
it's rough out there for now.
Yeah.
But and for like studios, I don't know. That's a little more diverse.
You mean like game studios?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some kind of all over.
You got some all
a
over.
lot
like
is in California.
Like a lot is in California.
The like
Canada.
the AAA boys, they're out there. But like you got AA, you've got just contractor third parties. You got mobile. Mobile's really big here.
Yeah,
but not in. I mean, they are big in California, but like there's a sizable amount of mobile companies here. But and it's I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. There's a lot of things to talk about with this.
I think in terms of like what to do about it, I agree with you. I don't think I'll be buying it either. And I think voting with your wallet and public opinion are like I think those are the two factors.
The two easiest and the two relatively influential. Like, because even just like talking among like your friends, be like, "Hey, this is what happened. You shouldn't support it."
Even though like so, just comparatively, just me coming from like me buying Warcraft 3. Versus Cyberpunk. Yeah. We don't know how it's going to be like, but I'm assuming it's going to be way better than...
Cyberpunk?
Oh, way better than Warcraft 3.
Yeah, like Cyberpunk, I'm relatively confident will be, at its eventual release, will be a great game.
Yeah.
Like, CD Projekt Red really doesn't, like, make duds. Yeah. Like, ever since they hit their stride, they make a great game, but it's just, like, it's tainted by the fact that you know that, like, people were, like... basically killing themselves trying to make this game work. It's like, yeah, I don't support that.
He said that something just to like keep in mind is he did say like, oh, we're gonna have to do this crunch. The CEO of or whatever,
CD Projekt CEO.
Yeah, at least, but we don't know how much that crunch is yet.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but
I'm sure we won't.
They have a history.
Later.
Yeah.
Of abusing their employees.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it is probably close to like actual like no, they're abusing their employees to make them work more because I never fact checked this, but this was like sourced that CD Projekt Red were abusing EU working laws, and the EU had to change working laws specifically for Project Red to make them not do what they were doing before.
Was this like Kotaku?
I think it was a Kotaku article.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But like, yeah, we don't know for sure if it's going to be bad, and maybe I'm hyperbolizing it, but they have a history of being rough.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's the same thing with like Rockstar, I think, for GTA 4, 5, and Red Dead Redemption 2 had like brutal game.
But I also have to say, like with Rockstar, you have to pay attention which branch, because they do have different.
Yeah,
branches.
they have.
That's the other thing.
But
because I don't know if, because I don't remember reading it or hearing it from a podcast, but it was like, pay attention for Rockstar. You got to kind of pay attention to which branch, because in the end, it's like some operate differently than the other one.
Yeah,
because like GTA is a separate one than Red Dead, from what I remember.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Unless they changed, I haven't paid attention just because I haven't played GTA a lot, and so I haven't. Like,
I don't think that excuses, because it's just like.
But then it's like you're saying
They're two studios.
I'm just saying, like, we're saying Rockstar in general. I also want to like. Other side is there are branches, and you have to do account for
there
that.
are branches, but it's also
because it could be like, oh, I worked on this one. Why am I getting shit?
I don't think that's a great opinion, because like, so you work. Let's say, for example, or we'll use a different example. Let's say like a couple of our friends work at a company that potentially may split. And let's say one of our friends who's in logistics works great, like their company is great, everything's fine. And then our other friend who works in like sales is like, hey, like I'm working 90 hours a week. Like I can't.
But you said sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so is it okay for the guy in logistics to be like, oh yeah, like our company is great. This is the perfect place. And then the plus side, the other company is like, yeah, we're killing our employees. I don't think that's fair to be like, yeah, one's okay and one's not.
But that's then you could call mismanagement.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it depends on the structure.
It also, I was gonna say structure is important too.
Who's
because if you're just gonna
using Rockstar as an example, if you have Rockstar North and Rockstar South, and Rockstar South is great and Rockstar North is awful, Rockstar as a whole is bad because both are reporting to the same board.
I think that's black and white.
I don't think so.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Be like, yeah, you're different studios. You work completely differently.
Because I can easily be like, oh, like I break it down by my departments. I'm like, oh, that one kind of sucks. Like, because for me, yeah, it does kind of suck. But it's like like for instance, I work in allied health, and then the other one works for doctors.
Yeah.
My side's not as hard as the other side, but I only deal with this side.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, oh, this is fine. But because you work on this side and they're not doing that great, does that mean I'm bad?
Well, like with game studios,
that's what I'm just saying. Like, that's the black and white argument. If it's black and white, then that's applicable to me.
No, your department is fine, but your company as a whole is bad because your company is not managing that department well enough. And so, Rockstar is bad because you're not managing your studio well enough.
Okay.
Why is this studio great in Rockstar South? Why is Rockstar North so bad? Like, there's a discrepancy because they're probably like they're in the same area, different offices, but like, why is one going home at 5 and why is one going home at 11?
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
And so, like the people at Rockstar, using all this as an example, Rockstar South,
it's like
aren't bad, but like they should also. I would hope they're empathetic with their people at Rockstar North. Are like, like, do we need to like send people over to help? Or like, what's the issue?
People that are bad. You're saying
it's management.
The management.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's management.
From my experience, crunch never comes from the bottom.
The employee does not choose.
Crunch always comes from up top.
I love crunch. Jesus fuck.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
There was that one guy on Twitter.
And especially, this is me really not knowing how the top end of game development works, but they're not doing as much like the grunt work. Because like a 90 hour for them is probably a lot different than a 90 hour for like an engineer.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you're going to be slaving away at a computer versus like I have... Like, it's the difference between staring at your computer for 11 hours or having 11 hours worth of meetings. And both suck. But one is, like, way more just, like, I'm isolated, working, typing, staring at the same thing. And, like, I'm at least moving. Like, I have all these, like, discussions to have. But I think, like, at a certain point, it's the difference of work is also a huge contention.
Yeah,
like
I would.
work,
Yeah,
the
I was gonna
amount
say
of
like
work versus,
the
like,
kind of work you're
compensation
doing,
of-
because it's the kind of work you're doing. It's just
Yeah.
way different.
And I think that's just getting into the whole how a company operates at that point.
Yeah, and like it's just some people higher up in a company be like, yeah, crunch is fine because they don't understand like
because they don't they
Yeah.
don't have
and I think that's another thing that
they don't they're not work. I think it's different. And it's obviously that's just like I think at that point it just boils down to individuals. At that point, it's like
Yeah.
if they've actually worked in that part, then they have more say.
Yeah.
But that's kind of indicative for a lot of things too. It's like, oh, at least like if I was a dev and I'm like, oh, okay, at least I know someone's got my back.
Yeah.
And if crunch happens, then well, fuck. But at least like if the person empathizes, but they are talking to a board, which then
Yeah.
then there's like the whole like who do you point fingers at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think I think that's just my devil's advocate at that point. It's like we can call out a company, but we also need to point out maybe there's, and this is just me doing data analytics at this point. It's like you can point at like the problem, but at least find like what's somewhat the source. But that's kind of
Well, I think it's one of those where it's like with several industries, it's just like this is how the industry is run, and that's just how it works. And I don't think that's
because I think that's what sucks is that like for at least like when we call that like when we talk about Rockstar and all that, it's like these are like way bigger as compared to like Supergiant. Like Supergiant at least is like a smaller team for not like team, but you know like the amount of people.
There's a smaller dev team.
Yeah, it's just a smaller dev team in comparison. So because I know like it could be like, oh, it's better because they don't have to worry about such like some people, like I'm sure like Rockstar has like stockholders have to worry about more so than someone else.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, this is how much funding we have because this is how we can make a AAA. And if we lose that funding,
well, it's
then
just like this is. I think we're just, or at least I'm just coming from critiquing AAA as a whole. Like, something is wrong with the AAA industry, and it's not enough to be like,
but
oh, this is what's wrong.
But
like,
it just boils down to like consumers just want more and more.
Yeah, like some people just don't care enough.
Yeah,
and
they're
they'll
just
just
like,
buy.
and then you'll just go on Reddit and you'll see like, man, this graphics look like shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, actually, if you really think about it, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people like shit on games, and it's like, do you know how hard these people
Yeah,
work
yeah.
on
It's
this?
like, do you understand the turnaround time for this shit?
And yeah,
So
I think a lot.
we weird so hard.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of it is also like the consumer actually taking. It kind of goes along with
Making
like
awareness.
they don't care enough, but yeah, creating
Oh,
awareness
yeah.
for themselves.
You can
like,
even say you can create their awareness, but how much do they give a shit?
no. I'm saying they don't.
Oh, they just
become
don't.
aware.
Yeah, they just
right?
don't. Yeah.
They don't. 'Cause
Like,
I didn't
they're
know.
never
Like, I didn't
exposed to
know
any of
Witcher
this.
3
Mhm.
was full of like shitty crunch time
Yeah.
until you said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A while ago. Yeah. So and it's also, how do you find that information? And you're not going to find that information unless people like come out and say it.
Yeah, like you'll see, like the reason a lot of this is out now is because Jason Schreier at Kotaku was like, I'm gonna put an article out,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like, it's one like he's just extremely well trusted, but
Yeah.
he gets a lot of like current employees and like
He get.
yeah, like with anonymity, like tell me what's wrong, and boom, they just like paragraphs of like, yeah, this is what we had to do for crunch. And
It's insane.
I think like, yeah, I don't know. And so as a consumer, I think it's just taking more responsibility for what you
yeah,
do. And that there's like a whole thing, if you want, you can take that way beyond games. But
Yeah.
well, there's
keeping it-
like this saying where it's
Keeping in scope.
yeah.
the price of democracy is like constant vigilance or something.
Mm.
It's the same thing where like being well informed sucks because you always have to be reading stuff, and some people just don't have the willpower or like the desire to.
Yeah, it's like after a while.
Willpower,
yeah.
desire. Some people also just don't have the time
Yeah,
to.
yeah. It's like some people don't have time, some people just don't care.
Yeah.
And I think it sucks, and I wish more people would care.
Yeah.
Not just in video, be like,
Although, yeah, that is one thing. I said they don't have the time, but anybody who's playing video games definitely has the time.
yeah, you have the time to.
to-
But some people just like, Some people just want to play the video game and that's it.
Yeah.
I guess it's just how much do you care? It's like not care, but it's like how much a consumer is like willing to look into. Like it's like those true fans care about how some things are made. They'll follow everything.
Yeah.
It's just how much someone actually loves the company or the game or anything. Because I know for me back then, it's like when I had time, it's like if I was super into something, I was like, oh, I'll follow everything that they're making. Let me read all the like articles that will pop up. What's new? And then that's when I would find out, oh, there's crunch for this game, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's just like how, I think another factor is how much does someone, because then the other argument is like the same for actors is like, oh, someone follows a voice actor so hard because they actually enjoy their work, but they only would know about certain things because they care enough to like follow it. So I think that's what sucks. It's like when awareness happens, it's like there's awareness, but it's I think it's like it doesn't pop up for a consumer until it affects them.
Right. Yeah.
Crunch does not affect them, which sucks.
Yeah. 100%.
The only thing it affects them is I don't get my game on time.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
like,
read that
my
as like,
game
oh,
got delayed.
and then like there's the camps of like, oh, it's okay, the game will be better because that's what they care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which sadly I will say sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's me.
I think I'm sure I bought games. Well, I definitely have because I have The Witcher 3, so I bought games where crunch is happening.
Yeah.
So I think it's a question of now that we know going forward, will we act differently?
Yeah.
As like everybody.
Yeah,
you
it's
know-
a generic we.
Yeah.
The universal we.
The royal we.
The royal we.
Yeah.
Thinks of Nintendo instantly. Wait a minute.
Wait a second. But yeah. Yeah. Sucks.
In short,
Everything's like,
Sucks.
game industry sucks. Do
Yeah.
better.
Better. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think going forward,
so actually out of curiosity, now that we've like put out those points
right.
with Cyberpunk, you won't buy it.
Nope. I refuse to buy it.
Okay.
Like it'll be the meme where like if someone gives it to me, I'll be like, haha, decline. I'll be like, no, I'm declining it. Like I'm not. I won't condone anything that.
I'm
they
just
do
curious on
because-
severity because to me, it's like there's severity on like how much someone should like decline.
Yeah,
so I'm just curious
like,
for you.
what if they crunched 50 hours a week and be like, like,
Because for me, it's like I know like at least with Blizzard, I was like super against everything they do, but then like Warcraft 3 to me was like it has a special place
yeah,
in
like
my
they
heart.
nostalgia baited you.
The nostalgia baited me, and I'm like, I don't play anything. I honestly don't play any other Blizzard games. So I'm like, Warcraft 3, if it is anything, it's a self-contained experience for me, and that I at least get to re-experience like the story, which is all I really care about, honestly. Because I know there's all this other stuff like, oh, I can't play online. I'm like, I honestly wouldn't play online. And then like,
play through the campaign.
I actually just want to play through a campaign and then like up-res graphics. And I'm like, all right, cool. But like, it sucks on certain things. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, God, it's just Blizzard as a company. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck are you doing with this?
Yeah.
Warcraft 3 game itself, I'm like, that's why I'm like, it was really hard to be like, Warcraft 3, the game is fine, honestly. I got what I want baseline, but there are a lot of things that people wanted out of it. And I'm like, I think I had my expectations met.
Yeah.
But if there was more, that'd be dope.
I'm a relatively wholesale, like ever since Blizzard had their whole China thing, I'm like, okay, I'm not like,
yeah.
I've only played Overwatch and Diablo, but it's like I shut down my account. It's like I'm not like even if Diablo 4 is great, I'm like I'm not buying it.
Which I highly doubt.
Yeah, I'm just swearing off of Blizzard basically wholesale.
I've also stopped playing a lot any Blizzard.
Yeah. And same with
because this was like the first time I opened Battle.net in a long time. I was like, oh, this is weird. I haven't been on here.
It's like the same thing with CD Projekt Red. Like unless they change like drastically, like you're not getting my money.
Okay. What about so? Is that also why you don't play like GTA or anything like that?
I didn't think they were fun in the first place, but like now I'm just like I'm not gonna buy them.
I don't know. I probably won't. Yeah, I probably won't buy it.
Yeah.
Also, I am curious to see. I don't know if they will make this public, but I do want to know if they put their employees through crunch.
We'll probably hear about it.
That's
probably hear about it.
That's
as we get
never
closer.
public.
How much,
Yeah.
and then do they get compensated? And yeah, it's probably not by the company.
It's
at
going to be an
least.
expose.
It'll be like-
Yeah, it's gonna be expose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we won't hear till it gets closer, and we'll hear more about it. I'm
Yeah.
sure, and it'll lead up to it. I want
Yeah.
Yeah, like the game will release or like release in a week, and then somebody will release an article about.
it's the same way leaks work. It comes out
Yeah.
as you get closer.
Well, because like I
it's
guess
gonna get worse.
speaking of League of Legends, because that's kind of where that was kind of my like starting point. We're like, okay, because they had their expose about how they were like sexually discriminating and like
Yeah.
sexual abuse and harassment and all that. And I was like, okay, I can't support them anymore.
Right.
So I uninstalled the game,
Mm-hmm.
and then like 2 months later, I think I reinstalled it, and I was like, oh, this feels really bad because I have played since then,
Yeah,
and I haven't. So like, because like in my mind, I was like, oh, if I don't give them my money, it's fine because it's a free game. But it's also like, no, this is still like me supporting them because I'm a metric,
Yeah.
and so
Mm-hmm.
like the other day, I was like, I guess I probably should just uninstall it again and just like don't touch it anymore because I haven't played in
Yeah, you haven't played in
like
a while.
month or two.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I don't really need to. And because that's where I think it could trip up people is because
Mhm.
our friends still play.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if I don't buy this game, I don't get to play with my friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a sacrifice you make.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, that's like,
It's choice.
yeah, that's your choice.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's important.
Yeah, because it's not like, I mean, I still see our friends like when we get dinner or hang out, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
yeah.
I don't play League anymore because I don't support it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they find their own group too because they
Yeah.
have like their own new group that plays
Mhm.
consistently.
Keep invading our Discord.
Well, I
So
mean,
are you gonna get CG or
yeah.
Cyberpunk?
I don't know yet. Well, it's also like I don't know if I just haven't thought about it
Mm-hmm.
because I've thought about what I want to do after I have more time,
Mm-hmm.
after I'm done with school, which is probably after this semester. So it's just more like, what do I want to play?
Yeah.
So I mean, City Project's cool, but then after a while, I'm like, I tried because it came back to like I tried playing Outer Worlds. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Or Outer Worlds, yeah. And I was like, do I like this kind of game anymore? Because it's like City Project Red, it's like open world, but it's like it's first person. I realized I'm like, am I still like Skyrim, Fallout? Am I still into this kind of game,
Yeah.
or do I want something else?
Mm.
So even then, I'm like, it's cool, but I don't know if I'll get it. Not for like those reasons. I don't even know if I'm gonna get it to like play for
Just to
myself.
play, yeah.
It's just because I might not just be interested.
Yeah.
So it's more of a, do I want to play this or not?
Yeah.
And it's just also the idea of another fucking open world game.
Yeah.
Like just not another.
That's your genre.
I know. And now I'm like,
you put
damn it.
yourself in that
I
corner.
put myself in. I'm like, so me being better about it, I was like, I should finish all their stuff.
Mm.
And if it comes to it, who knows? I don't know. And I feel like something's gonna come out around that time anyway, too. Besides Cyberpunk,
Maybe.
because it was August,
September.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Something will probably.
something I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was a really good discussion, Luke. Good topic.
Be a better consumer. God damn it.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
agree.
I think, yeah, like,
Closing thoughts.
I think if anything, you should at least bring up these discussions with your friends. Like,
Awareness is important
yeah, awareness and then voting with your money and then.
because then, yeah, I guess that's the big thing. Is like awareness is important, and it's like up to that person's
like,
choice.
It's
what
the
they wanna
first step.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be an ethical consumer, that's on you, I guess,
Yeah.
are my final thoughts. All right. This is SuperBoss Podcast. Thank you guys for listening. We are signing off.
Bye.
See you later.